welcome to the DataPains channel. My name is Simon and I work as a lead data engineer day to day. In this video I'm going to walk you through how to deploy Airbyte on Kubernetes through Argo CD, and we will then sync some Postgres data into an Apache Iceberg table. So let's go. Also make sure to look at my Airbyte review video. In that video I go through my experience with Airbyte so far and why I think it's the pros and the cons. For reference, please look in comments below to find the official documentation. Please also check comments below to find the GitHub repositories that I'm using in this tutorial. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a quick look at the Airbyte repository that I set up. So I've set this up with through Helm. So what that means is that under here we have a locals values.yaml, and in this one we define it's essentially a copy paste from the official Airbyte repo. The only thing I do in here, which is slightly different, is that I'm setting up, I'm making sure that we have a node port so we can access the UI of Airbyte without having to run port forward. So you only really do this if you're deploying something locally. Anyway, so in this README, I'm essentially just explaining how to add the repo to Helm, how we can search and see that we're using the right thing. So this is what we're using at the moment. And a few other things is I've currently limited the way the resources for the jobs. And if you want more understanding and what all of these things mean, then you need to head out to my review video where I explain this in a little bit more detail. So now I'm going to show you how I link this up with Argo CD, and then we're going to deploy it. Okay, so here we have the Argo CD repository that I've set up. In here, in the README, I explain how to run Airbyte. So you have to set up your secret, you have to link to your repo. So this can be either mine or if you fork your own. And I noticed that this one shouldn't be here, so sorry about that. But yeah, and the UI will be statically available on this. One important thing to note here that I can show you is that currently under applications here, I have the setup for Airbyte. I define my Argo CD application. And in here, essentially what I do is I first set up a source to the repository where I have my values YAML file. I then go to the official place where they host the chart. I explicitly specify what chart, and I explicitly specify what target revision to use. I then refer to use the values YAML from my other GitHub repository. So in this way, you get a full GitOps setup. So every time I change anything in this repo, Argo CD will pick it up automatically, which is great. So now let's jump to the actual deployment. Okay, so here we are. So now I currently have the two repositories up. So in my Airbyte repo, I currently, this is all I have. So I have my values YAML file and it's ready to go. For Argo workflow, sorry, Argo CD, not Argo workflow, something else. I just want to deploy this because I have essentially done everything. I prepared everything with the secret and all of that. So I'm just going to run this. So now this is getting created. So if I go here, I can see that some stuff is being created. So let's jump to the Argo CD UI. All right, so now we have Airbyte, and also as a caveat, I have my Metastore and the Trino set up here. So What we're going to do in Airbyte is we're going to sync the internal Postgres database that tracks the tables, and we're going to sync it to Iceberg, and then we're going to query it through Trino. So right now, this is being built up. So this looks pretty good. So it's progressing. So we want to make sure that this is all has a green light before we call this off. The nice thing with all of this that we're doing here with the Argo CD is that every time I change anything in the repo, it will go here and pull it. So here you can see that make sure job resources is minimum for Spark. So essentially in the Apache Iceberg destination connector that I'm using, they seem to run Spark under the hood. And Spark needs at least, it needs a minimum amount of memory to even, compile or to run at all. So that's that. So while this is running, this is going to take a few minutes. So let's catch up in that time. Okay, so here we are with the Airbyte, and we're going to set up our first connection. So we're going to use Postgres as the source because that's where we want to grab our data from. So I'm going to call this source Hive Metastore because we're going to connect to the internal tables of our Metastore, just as an example. So now let me just pick out the credentials. So the host here will be, it will be Postgres service Metastore. And if you have seen my other videos, you will know that this is, like I mentioned before, this is how that is set up. But essentially, this is the service name, this is the namespace, this is the port, and the database that stores the tables are called Hive Metastore, and the username, it's Metastore, and the password, if you go and you look at my other tutorials, you will find it, and you will actually also find it if you just follow the GitHub. Somehow I don't want to say it on camera, even though it doesn't matter. But yeah, anyway, so here I am now. I'm setting this up. So now let's double check the source. So now I'm doing a check. Now I'm going to pick Apache Iceberg because that's where we want to go. And this is also Hive Metastore. And the Thrift URI, I have it here. So it's also comes from our same setup. So we have this one. I'm just going to double check here. So this one, we actually want that to end up in bronze. So it says database here, but it's actually the schema. So catalog schema table. And S3 here is just our MinIO setup. So again, this you can find if you go and you check what I've done. This one will be S3 Lakehouse. Some optional fields here. So here we're using a local MinIO, and a local MinIO is always US East 1. Let me double check that so I'm not lying, but I'm pretty certain that's the case. No, it's US West, sorry. So US West, that's MinIO's default if you deploy it on your machine. Okay, and then we're going to connect to we need to specify the endpoint since this is MinIO. We give that. If it was AWS S3, we wouldn't bother. And let's have a quick look here if this works. So we have, let me just double check this. So yeah, we can say here that it should go to Iceberg bronze. Okay, maybe not an end slash. So as you know, in S3, it's always everything's just a file. Let's do S3A as well. I think that matters since they seem to be using Spark under the hood. I expected. No, okay, everything's passed. Good stuff. So now it's gonna go and set up this whole connection. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and find table params. So this table here, it contains information about the tables that are created in the metastore. So this one we're going to use. So only one table to make it simple. And we're just going to replicate the source like this. Move this along. We're going to call this table params. We're going to make this manual for now, just to make it simple. And we're going to set up the connection and we're going to run it. And now this is going to run, and let's see how that goes. Okay, so let's sync it now. So now this is going to start running. And we can follow the logs if we like. This will show us the progress, what's going on. Airbyte spins up, the worker spins up a replication orchestrator, which will spin up the source and destination checker and the source and destination writer. We have some initial platform logs around things. This will take a little while, so I will come back to you shortly when this is done. Okay, so here we can see now that the job succeeded. So it started out, it ran its stuff here, it did some source. So here essentially it was picking it up, and here we can see that it was using the xmin, and it found the table, picked up the data, and then the destination came up, and it picked the data up and it wrote it, and it's done. Okay, cool. Very, very nice. Let's investigate this table now. So here we can see the table ending up under Lakehouse DB, Bronze DB, and here's up to the Hive Metastore, and Airbyte is writing to a table through the Metastore. Okay, so let's see if we can see the table. So it's catalog Iceberg, schema Bronze. Okay, so we run this, and here we have it. So it's said Airbyte raw table params. So it's adding Airbyte raw in front of it on the table prefix. So now let's try and do a quick little query from this table. Oh shit, yeah. So it's Iceberg, Bronze, limit. Well, I don't think there's much data in this table now. So let's query it and see. Okay, well, there is actually a bit of data here. So